while I'm thinking about it, I better charge up the device that I normally do streams with, in case we have to have another one all of a sudden. Just saying. We're going to let people get in here because I'm completely unexpected and we all did not expect to be here. But chaos brings us here. And Leticia. And, to sum everything up, Leticia is back in custody. Hello, I'll get chat up here in a second. I've been up less than an hour, so I'm kind of running slow. And since Leticia's not going anywhere, there's no urgency to be quick in any manner, shape, or form. Hello, Smelly. Hello, Tricia. Hello, Hello, Ellen. Hello, Ronnie. Hello, Leonard. Hello, Mouse. Well, this is it. Now, Leticia has an issue. Now, how this happened is how I will start. Now, when a warrant is brought to a local sheriff's attention, like they put a 500-mile radius on her, with that warrant. So, in reality, Leticia likely got within that 500-mile radius. But even if she is not in the 500-mile radius, a sheriff on a warrant still has the discretion to take her in. And then if she's beyond the 500-mile warrant, or if she's not, they will now call the place she has the warrant. And they'll say, do you want her? Do you want to come and get her? And if they say yes, Leticia's ass is going off to Arkansas. Now, if they say, like a smaller department, if they couldn't afford to get her, they might try another department to hopscotch her jurisdiction to jurisdiction to where they can get her. But if for some magical reason they never could, she could walk out. Now, I'm only saying this because, once more, this is in a mathematical possibility, but it is such a small possibility, I only have to mention it because it is one of the most lowest percentage paths this could go down. Because the jurisdictions that she's in have money. The one she was accused in, they do have a decent amount of money. And the one she's in has even more money. And that's one reason why they were probably more than willing to pick her up on the warrant. Well, Nicolina, they pinged her phone. That's all they did. That's how they found her. And that also means that since her last encounter with him in the fun hut, you see, every jurisdiction is not stupid. So after her short stay in the fun hut, I'm sure she made herself so fun, they decided that, you know what, we better put her phone in our system. Now, the funny thing is we know 99.999% of the time, no government agency is watching Leticia. Now, this is the humorous part, because in this case, there was. Well, actually, it's jurisdictions, because she's not committed to state crime. So this is just between jurisdictions. It's like when I was very young, all I had to do was get out of my local jurisdiction and I skated. But I guess somewhere in my early 20s, my local jurisdictions made a reciprocal agreement and you could get picked up anywhere. And this is kind of the same, because back in this time when I was young, places started creating systems to get around my easy of just hopping 1 mile over a line and then doing a dance if it wasn't a felony. Yeah, Nicolina has it. Like I said, if you get a hit county like Harlan, they'll call them and they'll just not be able to get them because they're a dirt poor crap hole town. where all the money gets embezzled. And that's why I was saying that these jurisdictions that we're dealing with, Hot Springs area, because of all the gambling, is not a poor area. In this area of Illinois, it's upper middle class mostly. It's got money. And that screwed her. Now, the funny thing is if Leticia would have slummed it, she wouldn't have got caught. Oh, yeah, Cowherd. It's only like 2.5 minutes, and that's why we didn't start with it. Because it's just a kind of an afterthought. And of course, we only hear audio because she's surreptitiously trying to record them. And stupidly, she ignored a command. Now, like I say, there's nothing really. Well, I guess we can go to the audio right now. Nicolene isn't here in chat, and she's got a wrench, so there's no reason for me to have to keep an extra eye or get another device out. Leticia's channel, 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Arresting a 9-month pregnant woman over allegations that she falsified a report, and it was posted 6 to 7 hours ago. Now, this is light when this happened, and it was posted 6 to 7 hours ago, and it's 11:13 now. So when it finally uploaded, it was night. So she likely uploaded it off data. My Trembly hit the button and I wasn't supposed to. Oh, would help if I turned the volume up now, wouldn't it?
Yes. You want to step out real quick so we can talk to you?
No.
Leticia, it'd be better, a whole lot easier if you...
Now, we're supposed to say, "How may I help you, officer?" And when they say, "Step out of the vehicle," you go, "Sure." Because you see, this is the first path to talking your way out of anything. Now, see, I know as a criminal, if you have a warrant, you are not talking your way out of anything. Just saying. I'm just saying, proper procedure is not to say no, because at this point, you could still have the possibility of talking your way out of this. Now, once again, as I said, if there's a warrant involved, you are never, ever, 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 ever talking your way out of it. But anything else, you can likely talk your way out of.
We just gotta ask you some quick questions, and then we can kind of go from there.
Liar!
Yeah, be better if you're out here, okay?
I'm hoarse this morning.
What are you gonna talk to me about?
We just gotta ask some quick questions, okay? And then we can get out of your hair. There's some stuff coming back on your license that I talk to you about. Yeah.
Gonna get out of her hair.
For the falsified.
You poor man. You should have never been in her hair.
Okay, but in our system, it'll come back. So like I said, if you come out here, we can get all this stuff cleared out.
Like arresting you.
We don't have a choice. You have to go down for the warrant, okay?
Now you hear the other one. You have to go down for the warrant. Now, when he meant go down, she meant down to the station. Remember when I told you they will call them, and I know they're going to take her. I know they are, in my heart. So, normally I would say this is an iffy thing, but this is Leticia. They're going to take her. She skipped her court date. If she hadn't skipped a court date and had a warrant, once again, they might not have wasted money. But Leticia is a repeat issue.
What?
Down for the warrant?
Yeah, well, you'll have to go down to the county jail.
Yep, down to county jail, Leticia.
So you're trying to put me in jail when I'm literally 9 months pregnant, have like a few days left before I give birth. September 4th is the due date.
Okay, and we'll communicate that with the jail. Yep, but as of right now, we don't have a choice in what happens from here on out. So this process, like I said, goes a lot smoother if you just come out and cooperate with us.
Right.
And the cop is right.
Right.
Because the only thing you can do at this point is hurt yourself in front of the judge. And if the cops know who you are, it is always best to cooperate. Or, as I like to do, now this is a fun stunt. When someone, is like that and you go, do you know who I am? And if they say no, you say good. And then you can run or pop them. Just say it. I see Leticia's arm where she's holding the camera down and hiding it from the cop.
So you're gonna drag me in. You're gonna drag me in to force me into confines, detain me again after I was detained at 7 months. Right.
That's how I was sure this was new.
Warrant for my arrest
because she had uploaded some old videos.
to this fucking child.
Could you step out of the car for us, please?
No.
No.
Just want to get on the line then real quick. Just where we go from here.
If you're gone, you say that you get the nightstick, by the way.
So Leticia.
And that's where she cut it off. Yep, and she just cut it off right there. And that did not endear her to the police department. And it's not going to help her case in any way, shape, or form. And I'm sure she's there right now trying to make just as much an issue as they can. Well, Nicolina, she thinks everything she's not accountable. I mean, think about it. She treats God like her fairy godmother. And speaking of fairy godmothers, Nicolina, we watched Jimbo's Opus last night, and though in the beginning he said he wasn't going to mention you, I knew he would lie, and towards the end, about an hour, he would start his bullshit, and I was right. And he got Kirsten on the phone saying, leave me alone, and it's obvious that her and Hunter is got back together again. And of course, everything is all your fault. You're like the evil villain in Romeo and Juliet. Of course, I'm just being facetious and being silly at this point. But that was the only thing that you really needed to know out of the stream while you were asleep, is that Kirsten seems to be back with Hunter, and Jimbo had the phone up and had Kirsten. It sounded like her to me, but because you talked to her, only you would be able to say for sure. But it was just a short clip, couple minutes. Other than that, there wasn't anything in his live. Now, the interesting thing about his live is he spent almost all of it texting. And it was to Kirsten, I believe. And towards the end of this is where she actually came up. So my guess is that Jimbo was spending texting to her because she kept saying, we're going to have a special guest. And I thought it was another one or two of his, his music pedo buddy or his MMA pedo buddy. But no, it ended up an audio of Kirsten on a call. But like I say, for almost that whole hour, all Jimbo did was sit there and type while the chat just went. And that is basically what you missed by sleeping. And you won. You found out his dumb little thing and you got sleep. And now we will turn this back to Leticia, because Jimbo's going to be the issue here for a while, especially after that, because he seems to have a family that collects girls for their men, in my opinion, allegedly. Well, yes, Nicolina, like I said, I knew at some point, Jimbo being Jimbo, that towards the end, so for an hour I reviewed other audio, then I came back to it and boom, right to the spot I needed when I needed it. And then I went through it all later, just on a quick, just myself before bed, to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And that's how I could say for almost that whole live, he was just sitting here doing this. I'm like, wow. And like I said, I expected one of his two little pedo buddies up there, but no, it ended up cursed in the line, and it was probably less than 25 seconds of audio. Well, the context is you're supposed to leave them alone. And that everything's all hunky dory. And of course, the other context is that you're a horrible villain. I mean, always with Jimbo. I mean, I have to just laugh at him. He's one of these local moral people, supposed moral people, that uses morality to grift and lie. And those around here are a dime a dozen. Well, around here there's big stupid energy. But yes, that's basically your Jimbo update. I was basically going to text you this, but since fortunately you're here and there's not anything critical to humanity that has to be not said for the good of all, I can just give you the briefing right here. Matter of fact, I even told anyone in chat last night, if you talk to her before I do, tell her this. And that's basically what I just told you. Now, Leticia will be sent back to Bentonville. And Leticia will have to face that judge. Now, I am confident all the way up till she sees that same judge. Because typically, they always see the same judge because it's the one that put out the bench warrant. Unfortunately, because personally, I'd like to see Leticia see another judge. But because that judge put out the warrant, they will make sure that she gets to that judge's courtroom. Well, as I mentioned in my last live, Nicolina, there are people that you can reach hands out to, and there's people that you can't. And Duke is one of those people that you can't. He's just an asshole that will use anything, an uneducated asshole that will use anything to try to gain power or money over another. And I would digress into some family history, but you see, my family were slave owners. And they even had the big whole plantation thing. You know how they said only a few % of people were the big slave owners? Well, you know what? My family were one of the big slave owners. And when the Civil War ended, they stole everything from my family. My entire family was thrown into the streets with just the clothes on their back. And that's how my family got here. Because with nothing, the government stole everything from it and gave to the slaves. And then Northerners came down and cheated the slaves out of it. My family was stripped of everything, destitute with just the clothes on their back. And they had to borrow horses and a cart. And they came to Kentucky. And then we started making liquor for the government, which they then sold to Indians. And that's a part of my family story, where people like Duke says, reparations. No, there was reparations. I mean, my family used to be a very extremely rich, wealthy family. Everything was stripped from them, and we ended up having to go to the Kentucky hills. Well, say, Duke was, how shall we put this? You know, you're lovely ladies, so I try to keep a certain amount of decorum. He was beyond the pale. He was perverted. In fact, my presence, I would have kept him. Just saying. You know, this goes back to my complex PTSD in my gang life. If a human being acts like Duke does, click, boom, they're gone. You know, and that's one reason why I get a check, because I'm not out of control, but there are certain stimulus that would instantly bring me back to my gang life, and Duke acting like he does, I mean, that'd be a trigger. I would, you see me as a kind, compassionate person. Someone like Duke hits the part of me that isn't a kind, compassionate person, and I just not say a word while they're saying something, and I would have drew my weapon just quietly, hit the safety, and I would have capped them and then dumped them in the river. And someone's going to kill Duke one day. Not me. I'm not threatening him. Get that straight. But, I knew in my gangland life that, at some point someone's going to kill that motherfucker. And that's what I used to say about certain people. And every time that I said that, at some point, someone did kill the motherfucker eventually. And it was never me. Because, once again, if I had any concept that I might be the one to do it, I certainly wouldn't have said it. Well, yes, see, Nicolina, that's the thing. Now, once again, I can talk about. Now, see, another thing that, I don't go around and throw things, but my mother's best friend was black. And she was in the adjoining community just a couple miles away. So, I grew up regularly in her black household. And in reality, she treated me better than my mother did. I truly am colorblind. Now, once again, if I feel I need a weapon, verbally, I could always pick up that weapon, but it's a crude weapon. And unless I was wanting them to throw the first punch, I'd never use it. But you see, this is where, people like Duke give people like Leticia an excuse. Because there are people like Duke. And they do horrible, horrible things to women. This is how we can kind of combine these two subjects. And because of this, it shades men in a bad light. Because in reality, most men are good. They may be selfish. They may be stupid. They may be man children. But for the most part, men are good. Now, as an example, now, as a young man, now, I'm sure Nicolina understands this. When you're dealing with clubs, there are a lot of men that have out of wedlock children. Well, I sat down one day and kept a running tab. And we have 38 men with kids out of wedlock. Well, 36, because I talked to each of them bullshitting while we were getting high. 36 of the 38 were willing to marry the woman. And she blew him off, got child support, and that was 36 out of 38 in my anecdotal study. So, that is the lion's share of men that I knew that were club members that had children out of wedlock. 36 out of 38 were willing to take up and be their father and marry the wife. Now, 2 out of that 38 did not. And that was kind of my example that, the world is kind of treating men unfairly with that. Because for the most part, and that did surprise me, because in reality, when I started asking that question, I expected it to go 50-50. That was my expectation. And I got 36 yeses and 2 no's. Well, take care, Izzy. But that's just an anecdotal thing in my life. Now, once again, Leticia was trying to use good men to get what she wants. And Duke, he just wants attention. Anyone that puts a tattoo on their face is screaming, A, I don't want a job, and B, I want attention. That's universal. I have always found that throughout my life. And I even, on Trisha Licious one day, she ran into one of these face tattooed wonders, And I was surprised because someone asked him, why do you get that face tattoos? Because I don't want to work. And I went, oh my God, honesty. So I have to laugh about that. Now, Leticia, as I said, everything is going to go as we expect up to the point where she sees that judge. And all bets are off at that point. One of two things. The judge will be offended at her, or the judge is going to let her off again. One of the two. And because she tends to be a liberal judge, this is a pure guesstimation on this part. I'm guessing about 50-50. 50% chance she gets another 50% chance they hold her. But they will hold her until they see the judge. Now, with the interstate shipping, I am not sure how long it's going to take her. Because they might just hopscotch her to jurisdiction for cheap. And if that's the case, then she will have a ton of transfers and it will take a very long time. Now, if they just get someone to run her, it'll be a straight trip. And they better get someone patient. Because I was thinking that most people would probably shoot her before they got her if they had to ride all the way there with her, in my opinion. Oh, so I have to laugh about it. Well, Cynthia, that's what Duke's all about. And that's what Leticia is all about. All I have ever said that YouTube is ever worth for a creator is you may be tipping them a dinner rarely. The old sing for your supper. YouTube was meant to be social. And then big YouTubers happened, and there's so many people that want to have that bit of fame and identity where I can make a mark in any room that I go into. I can debate with academians, and I have. And that's always fun because they come at you so arrogant, and at the end of the argument, because see, they'll never, once again, if they consider you an inferior intellect or an inferior person, they will never admit you're right, even when everyone in the room knows you're right. And unfortunately, that's how you have to argue with smart people, because you won. Because the debate slowly ends. After they try to poo-poo your victory in the debate. And that's when I always remind them, yes, and I also can beat the living crap out of you at will. Just saying. And explain to them that we live in a Darwinistic universe of survival by the fittest. And that we are a tool-using animal, and you have chose books and pens over swords, shields, rocks, and sticks. And where I tell them that books and learning have a certain respectability, intelligence, and usefulness. Nothing beats drooling from here and beating something with a club. And that, once again, is me trolling the intellectual. Oh. I'm seeing if I'm making sure I didn't miss anything important. Oh, hello, Flatline. I did miss somebody important. But yes, old Leticia is going to be going back to see the judge. Now, this is the wild card part. And I've been waiting to mention this. Now, the judge set her for January. The reason why the judge set her for January is the judge wanted her to have the baby and then deal with all this. Excuse me. And personally, I had agreed with that. Because then Leticia can, quote, get her justice. But now we have Leticia still pregnant going back to that judge. And that's why I'm preparing you for leniency. Because I know from the last time that judge wanted an unburdened Leticia for her judgment. And now, and that judge made it to where likely she was going to have that baby beforehand. Now she's going to be going back to that judge. We have a quote, liberal, kind hearted judge. So I don't know what's going to happen because this is someone's heart that I am not. Well, see, Nicolina, for example, any place that pick you up has the chance to hold you on the warrant. It's up to them. That's why I was saying that if she was in a poorer jurisdiction, they wouldn't have bothered. But, she is going to a nice place and is in a nice place. They have money. They don't want their people bothered. And once again, Leticia was going in and out of this gym. Have you ever heard of anyone having an encounter with Leticia that went, like you or I talking? No. And I know that she had to have these encounters, and I know they had to call the locals, and they just want her gone. Because I'm sure that people aren't wanting to go to the gym because of her. This is Leticia. And that's really kind of where we stand. Now, because she's pregnant going back to the judge, I wouldn't be surprised if the judge gives her the utmost mercy until she pops that puppy out. Now, another thing, she could be popping that puppy out at any moment. And stress can induce birth. So, oh God, oh God, oh God. One of my distinct ego states gave me a reminder. My historian. How much do you want to bet that she's not going to try to fake labor in court? Oh, man. And the more I think about it, it's like a fait accompli. If she's not had that baby before she sees that judge, I predict that she is going to try to fake in front of that judge that she's having a baby. I believe this. Now, I hope I'm wrong. Oh God, do I hope that I am completely talking out my ass and don't know what I'm talking about. But that's 5 of my ego states. And there's that one that's sitting back here going, yeah. Think about it. Think about it. And he's right. And I hate this. I want that thought out of my brain. But yes, that is my belief on this is what is going to happen. Well, Nicolina, she's going to do that. Well, see, the thing is, she did that in the jail last time, and it got her in the turtle suit. And, I don't think that Leticia is much into bondage, and bondage is only fun in the privacy of your own home. Just put it that way. So that might hold her tongue. It might. Now, also, can't think of it. Because I have to think about judges and their powers. Yeah. Despite Arkansas's law, she could be charged with a contempt, and then the judge remand her to the mental health facility. Because that would, if the judge throws a contempt at someone, they have godlike power. So it would just be basically the judge, instead of ordering her to the jail, ordering her to the fun hut. And that would be within a judge's power on contempt. And if he does that, he's giving her a timeout or she's giving her a timeout until the baby arrives, in my opinion. And these are kind of the paths that we're going to go down. And once again, I expect Leticia to say, I'm having contractions. And you know how she fakes a panic attack? I mean, I bet her trying to fake a birth in a courtroom is going to be comedic gold. Well, Janie, that would be wonderful. But she's got cops got her now. She's not in medical care. And unless she does something to get herself into medical care, that can't happen. Now, Illinois cops, they're not bumpkins. They're not going to fall for her little bullshit. You saw how they approached her. Because most of the time, they're just going to, ask you to get out of the car, tell you have a warrant. But, they were trying to have a little problem with her. And she wasn't out of the car when she shut off her video. They no doubt had to drag her out of that car. Yes, they did. Now, once again, Roger could have got her out of the car easy because I was trained to do that. And you just lift up her hand and you grab her by her thumb like this. And then you tell her, reach down with your other hand and open the door. And if not, I could have pulled her entire fat ass out of there by one arm and her holding that. Because see, you'd hold her like that, then you put the other hand up on the wrist, and then you would just slowly, kind of like pulling taffy, so you wouldn't hurt her, and just start slowly pulling her out. Or actually, you could just pull the thumb back and twist to where it would actually hurt and not just be a restraint. And then you could just reach your other hand in and open that door yourself. Those would be the ways to get her out. Because she was wanting to try to do something to where she can cause a court case. And they taught me in security that the thumb lock, that is the handle to the human being if you are not wanting to cause the human being harm. So, once again, if they had any training, they could get her out of that car with a simple thumb lock. Hello, Barely Human. Squid's Leticia got busted in Illinois on the warrant, and they plan on shipping her back to Arkansas. Yep, and she had a 2-minute. Now I'll play the. Matter of fact, I'm going to play her video again. It's only a couple minutes of audio. And I'm just going to play this without me speaking at all, where the last one I was giving commentary. Well, come on. Damn iPhone. The iPhone's screwed up, and it's actually playing, but okay. Put it up. Okay. I think it's going to work this time because I got a picture.
Yes.
You want to step out real quick so we can talk to you?
No.
Well, Leticia, it'd be better, a whole lot easier if you come out and talk with us,
Why?
We just got to ask you some quick questions, and then we can kind of go from there.
No.
It'd be better if you're out here, okay?
What are you going to talk to me about?
We just got to ask some quick questions, okay? And then we can get out of your hair. There's some stuff coming back on your license that I talk to you about. Yeah.
Like the warrant for the falsified rape report that wasn't falsified?
Okay, but in our system, it'll come back. So like I said, if you come out here, we can get all this stuff cleared out.
No.
We don't have a choice. You have to go down for the warrant, okay? So it's going to be
down for the warrant?
Do what?
Down for the warrant?
Yeah. Well, you'll have to go down to the county jail.
Okay. So you're trying to put me in jail when I'm literally 9 months pregnant, have like a few days left before I give birth. September 4th is the due date.
Okay. We'll communicate that with the jail. Yep. But as of right now, we don't have a choice on what happens from here on out. So this process, like I said, goes a lot smoother if you just come out and cooperate with us.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Correct. So you want to step out of your car for us?
No.
Okay. We don't have a choice, so you're going to have to come out of the car no matter what, all right? We don't want to make
So you're going to drag me in?
we don't want to make it hard on
in, to force me into confines, detain me
Yes.
again after I was detained at 7 months. Right.
You have a warrant. We don't have a choice here.
There's a warrant for my arrest for falsifying the rape report that led to this fucking child.
So could you step out of the car for us, please?
No.
Okay. Just want to get ahead and get on the line then real quick. Just see where we go from here. So Leticia.
And that's where she cut it off at. She was hiding the phone the entire time. And that was uploaded within 7 hours ago, but it was light when she shot it. So this had to have happened yesterday. And then probably was sitting it to upload, and it finally just uploaded several hours ago. But apparently this happened sometime after her last live and before dark. Now, her comments are still on, but she was able to title it. So that's how I know in her last minutes she uploaded it, and it probably uploaded off data. Very slow. And you know, that's our current state of the Leticia. Yes, Ronnie, she said she's been saying she's been 9 months pregnant for a month. Or almost. Well, hell, she might have been at some... Now, they won't tase her when she's pregnant. Like I say, the thumb lock. You know, in reality, you know, if I had to subdue someone legally, you know, that's what I would go with is the thumb lock. Because, you know, I've been taught that is the best. And especially when you're dealing with a woman. Because you're not really going to hurt them with the thumb lock. You know, there might be a tender moment, but, you know, you're not really going to hurt them ever. Because the cops are going to be worried about protecting themselves. Now, myself, I kind of think it'd be funny if they had pepper sprayed her out. Just saying. Well, yes, Amethyst. Now, I predicted September 5th because it's Labor Day. And God has a bad sense of humor. Just saying. So, yes, that's why I picked it. Leticia always said, I'll never get a job. And I expect that she's about a month late already. And I think that's another way of God punishing her. Giving her karma. Making her hold that baby for 10 months. When in reality, she's having to say it's 9. Oh, so. Well, yeah, Michigan lady. But you see, that baby's her ticket. Baby's also her ticket to stay out of jail, and she knows it. Now, she normally watches everything here, and it's kind of funny, but from watching, Adrastia and Leticia both watch us here. Because there's things that I've only said that they repeat. And in videos that were not about them. So that's where everyone is allowed to be a viewer on YouTube, even them. Now, if I was JRC or one of the lolcows, they'd say, they're stalking me. But, you know, they have a right to view whatever YouTubers they want, just like we do. But I do know that they watch. Now, Leticia will not be watching my content while she's in jail, as Rich Life would say. So we can say whatever. I can now say whatever I want. Because, you know, now and then I think it's like, you know, I better not say that because Leticia might get X in her head. Because since I've found that out, and that's one of the reasons why I want to know these things, because I don't want to say something that could get something stupid in their head because they took it the wrong way. So I can take off my editor now. So that's comfortable for me. I don't have to worry about saying anything that's going to put something in her head to make her do something extra stupid. past her normal. Now, the thing is as I said, how they transfer her is going to be important. They may pop her from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and they may have one guy take her. And no doubt she'll try to fake labor on the way on that guy. But people that are usually going to transport people, they're either the new guy or there's someone experienced. Now, if they give her a new guy, the low guy on the totem pole, Leticia is going to have a fun adventure torturing him. Remember, Leticia said she wanted a man to torture, and not in the fun, kinky way. She wants to just sit there and badger and poke them. Now, I've learned, being in a club, that you could have a nice man, but if you sit for years and just do this to them, at some point, as Sam Kinison would say, Mr. Hand would turn into Mr. Fist. I do never condone abuse, but I have seen human beings that would intentionally try to incite such because of some bipolar drama fixation. Now, yeah, 420. Now, I feel that Leticia is this kind of person. It's just she's more passive aggressive than direct aggressive. And my mother was a passive aggressive trophy wife. So, I understand passive aggressive. I had it thrown at me in my entire life. When I was hurt or a child and I'd bring something to mother, you think you have problems, and then she would unload on me like a codependent, and I would be sitting there bleeding. And my mother was so squeamish, she couldn't tend a wound. So, as a child, I learned that I was my own doctor because my father would do nothing but hurt you. Now, Leticia is one of these people like my mother. I have said this universally. Women do not need taken care of, but there is a type of woman that does. And my mother was one of these women. If you give my mother complete control, she would fuck everything up, and she did. And she did it like Leticia. When I say Leticia goes above and beyond, my mother in fucking everything up, I mean, gold medal, world record. And Leticia is this kind of creature. Now, where my mother understood on a certain level, she was very capable. But on the big level, she did need taken care of. Well, my mother understood that. Now, Leticia, she does not understand this, and she is the queen of biting the hand that feeds her. Someone's blocking my supporters that gave me money. Oh, well, I don't care. She said that in a recent video, and I think I might have paraphrased or said it accurately up to maybe 2 words. Enough to call it a paraphrase, but in reality, it was just about a direct quote. And yes, she does blame everyone because this is the nature of the narcissistic psychopath. They believe they are the special creation. God put him here, and you are just a thing that God put here to service the narcissistic psychopath. And these are the worst of this kind. Because, like any affliction, people get it at a differing intensity. She's got it the bad, as we might say. Well, hello, River. Now, we're not going to stay on long because, this is kind of your Leticia update. This will be posted, and for anyone that's coming recently, you can go back and watch the whole thing. But I have basically run through the relevant points, the paths that this can go down, and there's nothing really more to do now than bullshit. So, and it's all down to the judge. And unfortunately, she's going to be going in front of that judge still pregnant. Now, I hope in the next 5 minutes she pops out that baby, but I hope she does it in Arkansas. I hope that as soon as they get her over the Arkansas line, she starts going into labor. Just saying. This is my best case scenario. And I have to shake my freaking head. I mean, and the thing is, Nicolina, I believe, said this before in one of her recent lives when Letitia came up. If she just would have went to court the first time, she would have got probation, a slap on the wrist, and all of this would have been over. But she doesn't want to. She's special. I mean, I used to know bikers that had the hardest head imaginable, that would have to do everything the hard way when just a little bit of finesse would have solved everything. But no, there are certain people that are hard-headed. Now, my father had a word for that I can't say on YouTube. Just say it. Now, unfortunately, Leticia's this issue, and I don't know what this judge is going to do. It really depends on how much Leticia has pissed this judge off. But considering that her judge was an enabler the last time, an animal does what's in an animal's nature. If the judge is an enabler, I expect the judge to enable. But as I said, if the judge respects the court, Leticia could get the book thrown at her. It all depends. You know, the judge is our wild card here. It's our joker. And we'll see what the judge joker has to say. Oh, man. Now, it's going to be nice that, because you see, before, because other people asked me to, I've been monitoring YouTube heavily for if she does give birth, but now that she's in custody, I don't have to worry about that. She has responsible adults tending to her, so until she's out, I don't have to pay attention to it unless I feel like paying attention to it. Now, I'm just wondering what they're going to do. We'll see. But I did mention that the judge could hold her in contempt and remand her to the mental health facility awaiting trial. And that would not violate Arkansas's law. And this is what we're hoping for, you know, when we come down. Because when I do the swing back, I try to go with what's the best outcome. Because once again, I want to try to give a little bit of hope. But yes, despite the Arkansas law, because she's facing the judge could hold her in contempt on the failure to appear, and then the judge can hold her wherever the judge wants. And that would include the mental health facility if the judge wants her to pop the baby out there. So, you know, that's basically where we sit. And once again, this outcome is what I'm hoping for. And the prosecutor was very responsible in it all. He tried his best. And I have no doubt, once again, people that give you reason to give them faith, usually, if not always, will continue to do this. And once again, I know from the last time, the system there worked all the way up to the judge. So once again, I expect the system this time to work all the way up to the judge, and it all depends on this wild card judge, our joker. Well, Amethyst, you know, where I said this in another live, and I'm not sure if you're here or not, where we look at this as Leticia chapter 1. But in reality, chapter 1 has already happened. She snared a man, got pregnant, got her house, got her dogs. To her, she had the brass ring. And she did until she set the baby's crib on fire. And that was crossing a Rubicon, and it cost her everything. So she's just redoing. It's just this time it didn't work right. But we know how plans go. It didn't work right this time, but it of course will work right next time. Because Leticia only has so many breeding years, and she is going to constantly get knocked up every chance she gets, because she is going to try to repeat chapter 1, which in our book will be the prologue. You know, all the way up to we saw her on YouTube and what we call chapter 1. You know, chapter 1 is really part 2. And until she is infertile, we are going to have Leticia chapters. And, you know, eventually we'll have Leticia, the barren chapter. And we're going to have several years until that happens. What, she's 35 now? I mean, that's where everyone says, once she has the baby, I'm done with this. I'm like, the baby. I mean, you're saying this singular, my friend. It's where I see around the corners, and I don't poo-poo everyone for not seeing what I do. When I was very young, I did that. And I learned that, no, that's just wrong. You're just ahead of this game. So, yeah, I expect that that's exactly what she's going to do. And nothing says loving like a bun in the oven. And she recently admitted to a breeder fetish, which actually requires this to happen. So, we have a horny Leticia who wants to secure her life through snaring a man, and she has a breeding fetish and a diaper fetish. You know, I normally don't poo-poo people's fetishes, but, you know, one that doesn't involve other human life and creating it repeatedly, I think would be a better fetish, just saying. I mean, she can sit in her diapers and not hurt anyone and not constantly be a menace to society doing it. You know, I'm fine with that, and she can hang out with Carlos Martinez and they can live happily ever after. But unfortunately, she wants to create babies to put in this because of her breeding fetish. And, you know, like I say, I'm normally... Now, this was an interesting thing. When I went through security training, they trained us for everything. And I even think I could take a man in after he killed my partner, because we had that as a part of one of our tests. And it was funny because this is a test we weren't allowed to answer. You know, they just made us decide what we would do ahead of time. And I was fine with that. I actually thought you could kill my partner and I could bring you to justice. Now, this is where we get interesting, because when they started talking about fetish, you know, they talked about poop throwers. And I thought, oh, shit. I mean, and I found out in my heart that if someone threw a pile of crap and hit me, I'd shoot them. And that's funny to me. I mean, you could kill my best friend and I would take you to jail. But if you throw shit on me, I'm going to blow your head off. Oh. So, that's something that's wrong with me. Like I say, now I'm laughing at me. You know, the laughing right now, that's at me. And yes, I decided that if you killed my best friend, I could take you in. But if you throw crap on me, you're dead. And that's all we'll go into that talk. Well, Mouse, everyone is going to be sticking their 2 cents in everything. You know, that's why, because I was trying to think on what was accurate, like to title my last stream, because I don't like to title drama streams about my friends. But this thing with Duke, there's going to be a feeding frenzy on it. And this is what Duke wants. He wants his attention. Now, I personally, normally, you don't give them attention. But there does come a time to slap someone down and put them in their place. And I do believe that is this time for Duke. You know, normally, whatever was what I do. But now and then, especially men, this is a very sex thing. Now, most of the time, this does not have to be done with females of the species unless they're just fabricating endlessly. Then, you know, the smackdown approach verbally is the correct thing to go. But this is one to where I think he does need confronted. I really do. You know, kind of as they used to say, separate the wheat from the chaff in his little community. let him be as much of an ass as possible and see who over there co-signs with it and who doesn't. Well, yes, Nicolene. And once again, is and in reality, trying to review that is nothing more than a little boy, because that's exactly how he treats women. Also, he does it insecure because, I'm completely respectful, but, when it comes to the bedroom, I can rock a woman's world, but I don't have to go around talking like that. There's no need. I am confident in myself. It's, my private sexual life's none of anyone else's business other than, an idle joke or a possible flirtation or some self-deprecating humor maybe on occasion. Hello, Shannon. But, I'm not going to let Duck get away with his bullshit. But in reality, as I mentioned, he does just want the attention. And it's like fighting with the pigeon. No matter what you say or do, he's just going to strut all over the board, shit on it, and act like he won. And it just actually shows that what an uneducated pile of human garbage that he is. Just saying. I wouldn't tolerate his presence around me for 2 minutes. No, I wouldn't. Because in my criminal career, multiple times I've told my friend, you got 2 choices. 1, you can get him out of here, or 2, I'm going to kill him. And then my friends would remove the problem person because they knew that because you know me as cordial, but if I actually said that, they knew I completely meant it. Well, unfortunately, we can't stream court. And, old Duck thinks he's tough, and I've made my life of collecting money from the tough men. It's like last night. You see bikers and I see bikers as different things. I see them as a mass of insecurities that want someone to cuddle them and tell them that everything will be okay. Now, you see, with my intelligence, you see how I do YouTube? This is how I had to used to do politics. And I'm not talking about voting for Democrat or Republican. I'm talking about bad guy on the street politics. Because in reality, these balls of insecurity, because I'm confident and I understand and I can make you feel better, they can be some of the most codependent creatures, just like any female. Seriously. I mean, I used to sit, this is why my therapist wanted me to be a therapist. Because I used to have to sit around and solve all of the bikers' mental issues and their life problems. So once again, where you see this tough, dangerous guy, all I see is this ball of insecurity coming at me that just wants loved. Let me think it. Actually, it depends on the jurisdiction, and it also depends on the cases. Now, most places do not have cameras in court. Most places will put you in jail, as Rich Life would say, for it. Like Kentucky. No. Because if it wasn't for that fact, I would have someone get me up to Madison County and we'd be in the gallery, watching old Ernie do his thing. The only thing someone could do is get me a county away and I could report on the trial. But, that's one reason why I'm not fooled with it, because everyone in reality would want audio or video, and for that they would put me under the jail. And once again, ironically, I could probably shoot someone in broad daylight and have a reasonably good chance, if it wasn't a woman or a child, of getting away with it. But I couldn't get away with that. For that, I would go to jail, as Rich Life would say. Well, take care, Nicolina. Yeah, we're going to get out of here in just a minute because I've not been up long and I've fed the animals, and that's basically it. I mean, I've not even smoked my morning bowl yet. Oh, Peach, I know what she was talking about. Nicolina also understands that YouTube is entertainment, and we treat it as such, because that's one of my litmus tests for the creators. Are you here for the right reason? And if entertainment and entertaining people and social reasons are the answer, then you answered that question correctly. It's something I don't say on YouTube. Now, once again, if you're Ernie or a Jimbo, and now I do have to say, this is a personal opinion. There is no right or wrong in this one. But I do have to say, all of these small channels that are using intro themes, I find it amusing as fuck. Like they're Dateline or something. Or some sort of important show, like Jimbo does. I mean, on some of his shorter stuff, his intro is about a third of it. Hello, Nippy. Or take care, but yeah, I'm gonna get out of here in just a minute because it's lunchtime and I've not done anything for me. But I wanted to get this Leticia talk out there and tell everyone what the paths of this may be, so when everyone else is in other chats, there is a basis of understanding, and we can all chat about this in an understanding manner, and we can downplay fantasy, and because the reality's funner. I mean, what's the judge going to do? Now, I don't believe, well, I say, can't have any belief of one way or the other. That's how I should put this. But the best hope is, goes in front of the judge, she gets contempt, and she gets remanded to the facility, because that would all be within law until she has the BABY. Now, we will probably talk about Leticia again. I'll do another live on her in about the next day or so. But until then, I'm just going to keep my eye open, and I'm going to go get myself some food, because now I'm hungry. I'm going to smoke this bowl, because Leticia's jealous of my life, as Rich Life would say. Now, okay. Now, Leticia's worry, did they get her pot? Because if they took her weed, when we do hear from her, that will be the first thing that we will hear about. And I wanted you to leave you with a funny thought. Now, everyone, thank you for coming, and I will talk to you all later.